Hey everyone, welcome back to more Flesh and Bad, and today we're going to be doing some theory crafting for the upcoming set Mastery Pack Warrior. So I was kind of initially dooming on the set, mainly because I saw that there were potentially a lot more like reaction speed stuff, which obviously means that Marlynn Overpower doesn't get around it. But a lot of the cards they've actually spoiled so far have been like powerful actions, so maybe if the warriors kind of like turn out to be like a little bit more action heavy, maybe overpower becomes like a real keyword and that kind of thing. So I'm not like fully doomer on the set yet. Like I think that we maybe still kind of have a kind of some like niches that Marlyn can maybe fill to kind of like compete with the warriors at least. So one of those niches I think is Courageous Crossing. So this is a card that's been like in and out of like theory crafting sideboards, mainly for like Dorinthia, but also now that Hala is kind of like a deck. And I think Courageous Crossing might end up being really good into like Dory, Hala, if those decks kind of see an upkick. So this is kind of taking the place of Sift, which what this does is makes our New Horizons plan a little bit weaker. Just mainly means that we're going to have a little bit more of a struggle setting up like double arsenal on turn 0. But the upside of this is that we're maybe a little bit better into just the warriors, so like Hala and Dorinthia at a very low opportunity cost. So like I'm never really playing Sift at like most other opportunities of the game, other than like New Horizons, like going first, right? So this presents like an interesting advantage. Like a lot of classes don't actually have like ways to interact with the counter, so like this might be pretty decent for us to like have some kind of game into the warriors, which is pretty cool. And we're gonna keep the deck list like fairly similar. I kind of like the idea of just like going down a pre-med though, because I've been bricking a lot on the 33 kind of like blues list. Maybe upping the blue count just a little bit, just to kind of like make room for a tip the barkeep, which I think is also reasonable. And then the sideboard, I think I'm kind of tweaking it, but I kind of also want to insulate us against Jarl. I've actually lost like quite a few games in paper tournaments to Jarl, mainly off the back of like chained Oaken holds and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, well, I want to like kind of eliminate the possibility that Jarls can like really deal with us. So like I think this will give us like an extra maybe like 10% Jarl, which seems pretty worth it from my opinion, just because I think that that matchup is still going to be like popular once Mastery Pack Warrior kind of comes out. And then the sideboard is like pretty much the same from there, although we are trying like a spicy little one of Mutiny into like Gravy, Betsy, some of the other gold decks, maybe even Olympia. I could actually even see like this Ataya maybe ends up being like another Mutiny or something. Kind of depends how the meta shakes out. But yeah, that's going to be the deck list for today. So we're going to try to get some games into just some various decks just to kind of see how the list ends up performing. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into the games. All right, it's playing against a Cindra. Let's go second. And then I want to run Honing Hood in this matchup. And then what else do we want? I think this probably seems fine. All right, let's go ahead and run it. I don't typically run Trench and Quick Dodge in this matchup just because it's a little bit of a liability if they're on kind of like the slower, more reactive Cindra where they have like kind of like 9 D-Rex or whatever. See what kind of Cindra they end up being though. Oh, King Shark in the opener is nice here. I almost want to take 2 here, just so that we can block like Chainlink 2. Because now this becomes like kind of annoying for them. I'll go and give them the yellow fin here. I kind of want to like hold on to the King Shark just in case they go for like a Warmonger's play here. All right, looks like they are going to go for the flick. Question is whether or not they're going to end on Warmongers. I think we should assume that they're probably not going to play Warmongers. So this feels like probably a safe block. Okay, and then we can just Arsenal the Codex here. I think there's like some merit to like not popping Honing Hood there, but making sure we get resources is pretty important. And if we draw like a Catch of the Day or just something random to play here, then I'm pretty happy. So I guess we can even like play out the Tip the Barkeep here. It's not terrible. Then we just could come in with a huge King Shark. Given that they're on Flame Scale and they're like fat decking, I'm kind of hesitant to give Hook here until we know what kind of Cindra they're on. Whether or not they're on the D-Reacts or they're on something else. All right, take a peek at the hand. think we'll go ahead and take the Rising Resentment here. And then also, well, Spreading Flames isn't really doing much, but it might be annoying later. So let's go ahead and take the Flames as well. But pretty good start to the game, and we get to also arsenal the port side here. Looking pretty good for us. Okay, we'll go ahead and just say no blocks here. All right, go ahead and arsenal the King Sharks and 13. Get to keep Codex for next turn, which could actually be a liability if they do end up drawing into the Warmongers. But we're not going to play around it. Unless we see it, obviously. Okay. So now I guess we do kind of try to play around it at least. But we'll take the Ignite here. The Time Walk might be annoying, but if we do Ponder into an arrow, then we can still do something here. All right, 3 Oak's not going to cut it, unfortunately. But we can still arsenal it because... So the reason I'm arsenaling the 3 Oak over the Codex is because we might want to actually like end up blocking with the Codex. They're also pitching the Warmongers. Okay, that's not what I expected. Sure. Maybe they're just trying to send damage or something. Let's go ahead and try to like threaten the mask here, like threaten the flick. But I'm going to try to lean into blocking a bit more this turn just because them pitching the Warmongers is like a little suspect. Like maybe they're like sitting on one in Arsenal. That's the only like rational explanation I feel like I can have. It's like maybe they just have like another one here. Okay, maybe not. Interesting. All right, well, I guess you just get to send like King Shark every turn of the game. That's pretty good. We could have actually probably done like something cute with the rum there, but I don't know if we necessarily need to. Kind of like already winning this game. Don't think we need to take any real cute lines here. Okay, it looks like they're probably gonna give up on the back of that. So Arsenal's Lava Burst. Kind of curious why they didn't like end up playing the Warmongers this turn, but maybe they just felt like they were like so far behind that it didn't matter. But looks like they're on pretty light number of D-Reacts, so this would be a kind of Cindra where the quick dodge Flexors plan is maybe a little bit better. But still like pretty easy, even if you don't have the setup, if you just draw King Shark super early, which is kind of how the Cindra matchup goes. All right, let's go ahead and get another. All right, playing against a Huntsman. All right, playing against a Huntsman. Let's go first, and then we'll go ahead and grab our board. So this is definitely a New Horizons matchup. I'm kind of debating whether I want Trench, but probably not. And I think we're going to just run all 65 here, if we can help it. Okay, yeah, I think this looks good. So the only downside of running like the Courageous Crossings here is that our New Horizons plan is a little weaker, so we don't have like SIFs and stuff. In this matchup, the Courageous Crossings are basically just 3 blocks. But they should still be like relatively fine. Setting up the double arsenal in New Horizons is really just something you need to do with like the 3 of the kinds more than anything. Since we're also not running Quiver Rustling Leaves, like getting the New Horizons kind of going is a bit harder. Okay, so this is kind of an interesting hand. We could theoretically set up a double arsenal here if we wanted to. The only question is whether or not that's worth it. It'd be at the cost of like 2 cards to set a double arsenal, 2 cards in deck. Because we have to play the port side, discard like the Mutiny, and then like keep these 2. Maybe that's still worth it from like a tempo perspective though. Having double arsenal to kind of start the game is very strong. So we probably still try to go for it. But it is definitely still at the cost of like 2 cards from deck, which is pretty painful. One thing to also consider is we probably should have actually put the Redler face up and then the King Shark a face down just to like hide a little bit of information. But we'll go ahead and say no blocks here. Also, it's better to do it that way. Or I guess we can always like flip with Sealay, so it doesn't really matter. But slight like micro optimization maybe. Or maybe this still like kind of works out. So we can like still keep this face up, so maybe this was fine. And then we can just send 13 on the King Shark. Imagine it's probably not hitting against Huntsman, but that's okay. We're at least kind of like threatening the quiver of Abyssal Depths here, so it maybe makes them think twice about like Hunter Hunted. Although that being said, they're probably like more often not going to go for it if they're given the opportunity. Oh, right on the horizon. Okay. So maybe looking like a pretty defensive Huntsman here. All right, that's okay though. We still basically traded 1 card for 4, so we're kind of like up on deck at this point. And they only have 1 card in hand, which is a Leave No. So what do we want to do here? Probably can just go ahead and give up like 1 Battering Bolt, seems fine. Yeah, kind of like this. Keep up the pressure and then keep playing our 3-oak and stuff. And then this also kind of insulates us from the Hunter Hunted because we're going to probably be floating a bunch of resources here. All right, go ahead and Hammerhead. Then just send a King Kraken looking for their codexes. The nice part is we also get to like IP with the Sunken Treasure. If they do decide to like block with the Graven Walkers, we can potentially punish them for doing that. But we are getting in for some good value here. So now we get to stuff the Hunter Hunted, which is huge for us here. Negating the first Hunter Hunted, I think, is a really big deal. Although that being said, we're only getting like 2 arrows back, so maybe it's not that good, but still relatively fine. So get the shuffle, and then they have to guess at this point. They can't just look at the top card again. All right, they named Codex of Frailty, and we showed them a Courageous Crossing. So got to dodge it, which is really good, and they show us Oasis. So it definitely looks like they're on a more kind of defensive game plan. But I think this is still really good for us here. So let's go ahead and pre-med, pull Tunic, and then we're going to maybe try to hold on to this Trophy Shot, assuming that we're not going to be hitting with the Kraken this turn, which is more than likely given that they have the Oasis in Arsenal. Unfortunate a little bit that they're going to be able to get the full value here, but should still be fine. All right, so this is Oasis, and then maybe like another D-React or something here. Okay, no other D-React, sure. So take a peek at their hand. They just have Surgical plus Sigil. So the nice part here about this Surgical is that they're not really threatening much. Like they don't have like a React or something. It's pretty good for us. Now the question is, what do we give them to block out here? We could give them the Sea Lace, which is an option. Is there a better choice here? It's maybe the question, though. Could potentially just like also give them like 2 cards here. The Trophy Shot in Arsenal is like a little bit awkward. What if we just gave them like this plus Tunic? We'd lose Tunic for the rest of the game, but we are getting like max value out of it. Maybe Sea Lace is just like better to give up though. We don't really know like when we're gonna need Tunic. This Trophy Shot is definitely being a little bit weird though. Maybe just like go ahead and give them the tipple here. Don't feel too strongly about this. We are doing a good job at least keeping up the pressure though. So option 1 is we go for Trophy Shot and send like like a baby King Shark or something. But like regardless here, we're like kind of IPing, so I almost want to like just send like a crappy King Shark. With the idea being that we kind of just send some damage here. I guess we now also are presented with the opportunity to maybe just send a Battering Bolt. So maybe this actually ends up being kind of annoying with the Ataya. I kind of don't mind that line just because it like means that we're not wasting resources. Maybe we are still kind of wasting resources because we're still like discarding the trophy shot, which is weird. It still feels like kind of efficient, even if we just end up sending the King Shark there, because we still get to keep like the face up arsenal, which is more valuable than like face down, and we're using like the most out of our cards. Interesting decision point, I'll say. Oh, we get a Justinek out of them, and then they also have to like pitch to shelter. Okay, this is like a pretty good trade for us then. Yeah, I think I'm like fine with this. Basically, I get to time walk them and then potentially set up like another arsenal next turn. Oh, we find some gold gen as well. That is great. So we can go ahead and turn over their Eradicate, and then maybe just hold back another Red Lure. They are kind of incentivized to try to block this out, otherwise you can get back like Leave No Witnesses, which might be a little bit annoying. May take a turn to just like block out, send Leave No, keep this in arsenal or whatever. Getting some gold gen here is definitely pretty helpful though. And deck sizes are looking like fairly even at this point. I think if anything, we're like a little bit ahead, but not by much. Oh, and get a second gold, which is also very good for us. Okay, so I'm feeling pretty good, although that being said, they do have a 4-card hand, which could be scary. Almost kind of incentivized to let the arsenal die if they do go for like a CNC or something here. But we will see. Leave No is also kind of tempting to just like let go. We've seen 1-3 Oak, so I think it's still worth it to hold on to the New Horizons, just in case we do manage to find some more action. But I think we're going to just say no blocks and Leave No here. Let them take the arsenal and top card. Not the end of the world. We are losing like 16 damage from deck off of that exchange. But overall, not too bad. So we're not taking their Leave No, or we're not playing their Leave No this turn, probably. Let's go ahead and turn over our Golden Tip, I guess. And we just Codex another King Shark here. Which I think, oh no, we don't have a King Shark anymore. That's still fine though. You maybe send just like a Kraken here. It doesn't really matter because the on hits are kind of fake anyways, given that they're mostly Theory X at this point. Let's go ahead and Codex, see what they want to do. Maybe they want to like play out like a Sigil or something. Alright, play out Codex. Okay, sure. They want a Sigil, grab something back. Alright, so let's go and grab. I think we're still just grabbing Kraken for damage here. So we're sitting at 48 cards. Oh, they're discarding a Fiddler's Green. Okay, sure. Grabbing a Leave No. Interesting. Still kind of just want to send 10 here, and then their Leave No's not that threatening, given that they have like a Frailty here. All right, we'll take a peek at their hand. Eradicate and Sigil, sure. So they might actually play out Leave No this turn. They might just play out like Eradicate off Tunic or something. Which makes sense to me. I kind of hate no blocking Eradicate, but this almost feels like a scenario where I would want to. But I think safer here is to just let them take 1 card instead of 4. I feel like it's an easy way to just like lose in terms of like deck value, which we don't really want. Although that being said, hitting the Codex is pretty painful off the top. That being said, we still have like 2 Codexes, or no, sorry, we have 1 Codex left. So maybe it's not that bad. Plus, they can always just like try to banish it or whatever. Okay, we do need to draw a blue here pretty bad. Okay, blue is good. So now we just get to send 15, which is nothing. 2-2. Or nothing to... All right, we get to send 15, which is pretty good. Okay. Sending in the Yellowfin. No arsenal for their leave no witnesses, which is in their arsenal. So we're looking pretty good here. This deck does run like some number of yellows between like eradicates and codexes, so like maybe we force a block here. Oh, we do force a block with like the eradicate. Okay, that's great. Oh, and we get a codex. Wow, that Yellowfin did so much work. So you have a cut to the chase, a leave no, and then a random plunder the poor or whatever. I think at this point we just kind of don't care. So we'll go ahead and say no blocks. They'll get some banishes here, but we have a pretty good life lead, and we also kind of have the tempo lead at this point. Now the question is, do I want to crack some gold to get a little bit greedy with this codex? I think probably safer to just sit on the gold for a little bit. Gold is pretty valuable, so using it to maybe get an extra like +2 on something random doesn't seem all that good. I think since we know that they have like a leave no in arsenal, I kind of want to try to threaten it with a shallow water. Just so we can like potentially put them off being able to disrupt our arsenal, given that we have a ponder next turn. Well, that being said, it's only coming in for 3, so it's not like the biggest deal in the world. It's just like a little annoying. Okay, and we grab the leave no. Seems like our opponent's not really finding their reacts here, which is pretty good for us. Sitting on a pile of 6 gold plus 2 3x this turn. Very, very good for us. Okay. What do we want to do on this hand? This might actually be another case scenario where we just like eat the CNC and then we can potentially set up a double arsenal with like battering bolt or something. That's kind of tempting. Otherwise, the play is we like send like a just 3-oak pitching 3-oak, which I think is like kind of weaker, right? So I think in this case, this is going to be like our gold cracking turn. We're going to just eat the CNC, and then what we're going to try to do here is either dig for buffs or extra blues here. Given that Catch of the Day is not really playable with the battering bolts, I think I'm just going to crack it away to try to find something a little bit better. Okay, King Kraken is good. And then the question is whether or not we want to like play out the salvage or if we just want to pitch it at this point. How many buffs do we actually have left in the deck at this point? We have 1. How many are banish? We have 1 buff and banish. We have 1 in pitch. There are 15 total in the deck, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 7 buffs in the deck. Like fairly likely to hit if we want to try to gamble for it. But maybe we don't need to. So we would have hit it after 3 draws, which I think is like maybe not worth it. So I think this like actually ends up being fine here. Let's go ahead and take. Do we want to send battering bolt or the Kraken? Given that Codex could be a little bit annoying, I'm almost wanting to send the Kraken, but maybe battering bolt also is like kind of fine. This like keeps them off having like cut to the chase or something random. Like coercive tendencies, cut to the chase, D-reacts. Could be pretty annoying, especially if they want to like try to arsenal a D-react at the end of this turn. So we should still be fine here. It also like might force them to play out like a hunter or hunted if they have like that as their only blue and then a bunch of reds in their hand. I think there's a lot of arguments for actually sending the battering there. Sending with shelter. Okay, 3-card hand. So we'll hope they can't make the most of it here. And CNC is fine. Oh, they did have the coercive, so I feel like that actually ended up being mildly annoying for them, maybe. But we get to keep blocking 6 here, which is great. And I'm not finding a hunter or hunted is also, I think, a really good thing for us. I think I will go ahead and get greedy because we're kind of deep in like, we're almost in second cycle if we're not already in second cycle. So popping the like we're kind of likely to like draw into at least 2 blues there, so I figured kind of worth the gamble there. I want to hold on to the tip of the barkeep just because it's kind of nice to like set up our red lures for late game. And then let's go ahead and just keep these both on top. I think it's probably fine. So we'll leave the catch of the day on top in case they want to try to banish it. Although I guess we still, hold on. Let me actually undo that op. I think we actually need to, so we do this here. I think we'll actually, do we want to give them the yellowfin over the catch of the day? We could also just bottom both of these. And we just bottom in case they do have the hunter hunted. Yeah, I think I like that because there's actually 3 copies of each of those in the deck still, I think. Or no, sorry, the yellowfin I guess only has 2 copies, but that's still like 16 damage. So it kind of seems worth it to just bottom it there so that they can't take our copies of catch and they also can't take the yellowfin. Both of those I think are pretty important. Okay, and they're hunting a shallow water shark harpoon, which you already have 1 of, so they still get to take 2 here. Yeah, maybe leaving the yellowfin on top was fine. Don't feel too strongly about that. But we're still in a pretty good spot here. Okay, and now we start getting to really kind of pile on the pressure here with the big game trophy shot. So we'll not give our gold to our opponent. And then I kind of want to just send like a red lure here, just because we do have the gold kiss rum out. Although that being said, King Shark might just end up being a little bit too strong here to pass up on. But we still have, how many red lures in the deck? We still have 2? Or no, we still have just the 1 left. So maybe this rum might not actually end up doing too much this game. It's still fine, though. Go ahead and just send in for another 14. It will run out of Diriax eventually is the motto. So we've seen all the shelters. We've seen 1 sink, so they could have 2 sinks. So we've not seen any other Fiddler's Greens. Okay, there's the other Fiddler's Green. So we have 1 more of those left. All right, they are on Fate as well. And another Oasis, sure. All right, we will persevere, though. The nice part is we have, like, full tempo here, so we kind of get to just kind of do what we want. The question is whether or not I actually want to, like, play out the C4 Salvage or save it for block value. Because we are getting to the point in the game where it's, like, a little bit scary. Let's go ahead and start with, like, a Rabble. Just kind of see what they want to do. Kind of want to just convert this to 3 offensively, just so we can keep applying the pressure. If they do end up giving us a card here, I think we're actually kind of safe to hook at this point, right? They could have triple D-React, which is not impossible given that they are on Fates and Sinks. Because we're going to be sending in for 13 here. They can give us triple D-React plus like Tunic or something, and then we lose our hook. But I think I like maybe taking the gamble here, because if they don't have triple D-React, then we get to hit for the gold here, which is really good. So I'm kind of putting them on not having it. But we might get punished for that. Okay. Well, if they wanted to break the hook here, they would have had to give up like Tunic or Flick Knives here, so probably don't have it. All right, Hunter hunted and a Sigil of Solace, sure. So we still get to punch in pretty hard here. Okay. I think we're in a decent spot, so let's go ahead and... I'm not going to play out the port side this turn because I actually want to try to preserve this as a 3-block in the deck. It's like tempo-wise good to play it out, but value-wise not so much. So let's go ahead and Arsenal the Redfin, and then we'll go ahead and crack 1 more gold here. Try to set up a double Arsenal. We can now Arsenal the Bluefin as well. We can just pull Tunic, come in for a little bit here. Question is whether or not we want to send the Bluefin or the Redfin, but I think it's probably a little bit better to maybe just send in the Redfin here. Keep double Arsenal. just keep applying the pressure. We're probably also making their hunter hunted a little bit awkward by making it cost one more. Assuming that they wanted to kind of play it here. All right, they'll hit us with a frailty trap. Seems fine. All right, now we just kind of get to still push the tempo with double arsenal as well. So we'll play at a crossing, target ourselves. And then I think I'm like kind of wanting to maybe cash in the New Horizons block value at some point. So maybe keeping double arsenal is like not fully necessary at this point. Let's go ahead and just play like catch of the day and then just send Yellowfin in or something. I think going off an arsenal at this point is like maybe fine, although we do have to be a little bit scared of their codexes, which they still have 2 in the deck. A little bit concerning, but we can maybe try to catch one with the Yellowfin here. I'm not going to send the Bluefin Harpoon because we kind of already know that they want to pitch a blue to the Hunter Hunted, so their hand might be pretty blue light already. Okay, there's Sync. Now we'll see if we can get another card here. They might just be Hunter hunting us. Oh, just an Oasis. Okay, sure. So we do know what their arsenal is, so they can't really like codex us. Interesting. I guess we'll just send in a King Shark here. And then are we safe to hook yet is a question. Still have 1 Fate, 1 Sync, so no. Assuming that they're on all the copies, and then we may have 1 more on the horizon as well. So we still got a bit of block slop to kind of work through here. It's still fine though, because their Hunter hunted at this point is like pretty bad. It's only probably going to get them like 1 silver. That's the hope at least. Could very well give them more if they get a little lucky. All right, there's Sync, sure. You will run out of defense reactions eventually, Arachne. Hopefully soon. Kind of goes to show just how well Hammerhead does at kind of like beating fatigue, though. Getting +4 value every turn is still pretty good. Okay, I think that's also the last frailty trap as well, because they do have 1 in Banish. And they have a Justinex, sure. So I suppose we can actually just go ahead and tipple here. And then we can also kind of set up the top card of our deck so that they can only banish 1 card. How many catch of the days have we used at this point? Let's take a look. We used 1. So then hitting that on banish would actually be kind of annoying. So I think we bottom that and top the red lore so that we get to maybe hold on to the red lore and set up something there. But we'll bottom the catch of the day just so that we kind of get it out of the way. I can arsenal battering bolt here. All right, they'll take the 1. Then we can Tunic, Hammerhead, Hook, and send in the Bluefin here. Get to arsenal the red lore, which is a pretty big deal. And we're threatening the gold on hit on the Bluefin, which is also pretty good. All right, they will hopefully not hit anything too important here. Like maybe they hit a Taya. Oh, they hit a Bluefin Harpoon. Okay, so that only had the 1 target on the top, so that's good for us. So low value Hunter hunted, very good. Means they're also not going to be able to buy back their boots and stuff. Okay, I think we're in a good spot finally. So we just need this red lore to hopefully connect, and then we're in pretty good shape. All right, there's the codex, which is fine at this point because we do have pretty clean blocks for it. Go ahead and turn over the air codex probably. Although it doesn't really matter as much anymore because they can't really buy it back. So let's go ahead and just try to hit in with our red lore now. Because the Redler on hit is still pretty annoying for them. Especially with the Ataya on the back, it might make it a little bit hard to block if we can get like a CNC, which we can then combo with our one of Rum. That's pretty good for us. And it might be a little bit hard for them to like profitably CNC without having Tunic up here. Right. Giving us Tunic and then getting a Trapdoor Frailty. Maybe they have like one more react here or something. Okay. They have double Trapdoor, sure. That's like kind of fine for us still though. Okay, so they get the value there, but that's okay. All right, last codex from them. Oh, we also have to... Hold on. Wait, do we have to discard for codex if we have a face-up arsenal? Is that how that works? Oh yeah, I guess we have to do it, right? That makes sense. So I guess in that case, we can just get like a battering bolt. Discard, maybe Courageous Crossing or whatever. Oh, but it's only leave no witnesses, I guess, so we don't really care too much about this. Oh, we probably should have just gotten like a King Shark. I don't know why I defaulted to battering bolt. That was probably a mistake. But this is still fine though. I don't think it ends up mattering because we still just need to like kill them with damage more than anything. So we'll go ahead and just send in a battering bolt. I thought for some reason I had to block another card because they were going to send CNC, and that's what I was thinking about with battering bolt. It's like, oh, I have to give them 2 cards there because they're going to send CNC instead of leave no. All right, but we're still winning on fatigue, which is really good. So now we just need to like block a little bit more. Maybe just end up kind of blocking with our New Horizons at some point, and then we can start cracking gold to kind of arsenal some gold fins and try to close the game out that way. Still a pretty tight game though, considering I think they had a little bit of lackluster RNG on their side. But it's how it goes sometimes. This is like mildly annoying, but I suppose we will just block it. Yeah, we can go ahead and just send in a battering bolt for 12, and that should be close to game here. I guess we can like go ahead and bottom the Ataya as well, because I don't think it matters at this point. Send in for 12, and then look for an opportunity to kind of block with our New Horizons next turn. But yeah, getting +4 every turn always feels good. And I think at this point they're kind of just out of juice. So we'll go ahead and crack a gold here. Load our gold fin. Play out all the cards. I guess for what it's worth, this is kind of close because we don't actually have like a reliable way to arsenal a gold fin every turn. But a nice clean little 200 damage turn. So I think I did the math at one point, and like Marlynn is like, I think you can present somewhere around like 250 to 260 or maybe even like 270 damage if you just like count all the cards in your deck. Considering that each harpoon is like 8 damage if you activate cannon. So we're like almost at like 80% deck efficiency if you kind of look here. So we presented like 216 damage, whereas the deck normally has around like 260 or 270. So considering that you have to block with some cards and they end up banishing the cards, that's like a pretty good ratio. Basically, we're able to make use out of like 80% of our deck. So like if you look at our banish here, they actually hit like some pretty good stuff here. So like this is 9 damage here, so that's like 18. And then they had 3 blue harpoons, so that's another 24. So that's 42 damage. Pre-med is another 30, so it's 45 damage. And then Codex of Frailty is 10 damage. So 55 damage total just between like 7 cards in Banish, which is like, I think like pretty good in terms of them taking stuff out of the deck. And then what do we actually have left at this point? We have like a Yellowfin, so we had 8 damage left in the deck. So like we're pretty close to like the theoretical limit of like maximum Marlynn card efficiency, which is kind of cool. But anyways, that was a pretty cool game. Just kind of like showcase the Huntsman matchup. Let's go ahead and see if we can get another. All right, pair into the Fang. So let's go second, Crown and Honing Hood. Okay, so we're gonna run Honing Hood going second. I guess we'll try the Trench of Watery Depths plus the Quick Dodge Flexors. I haven't tried this matchup in a while, so might be a little bit rusty. And then we can go ahead and maybe just cut a Tip the Barkeep here. Just because this matchup's like a little bit too fast for that. But it's been a while since I played the Fang matchup. And I don't know how much support Fang is actually going to end up getting from Mastery Pack Warrior, but we'll kind of see. Okay, looks like they're on maybe more of like a non-attack action build. Very interesting. So I think we're supposed to give 9 here, assuming that they have like a Scar Tissue or something. If they have Glint, this becomes annoying, but I guess it's not that annoying. I think in general, I always like overblocking the first dagger by at least 3, just so that they can't get any like fealty turn 0. It's kind of important. I'm also going to prioritize the Redfin here over the Shallow Water just because they have Crown of Province. Looks like they have Long Whisker loyalty, but they just want to pass on that. Okay, seems fine with me. So now we can just Honing Hood that in. Then we're kind of chilling here. So let's go and start by Hammerhead with Eye of Fidia, just so we can look at the top card of our deck. I will keep the Ataya since we have it lined up with a Redfin, which might be kind of annoying. But I think I'll bottom the Elephant just so we get a little bit closer to our Codexes and 3 Oaks and stuff. But this Redfin should be a little bit annoying, or it should eat at least a couple cards, if not some armor. So we'll try to make the most of it here. The Trench of Watery Depths and Quick Dodge Flexor is typically at its best when your opponent starts with like an Oath of Loyalty or something. But given that they're on more of like a non-attack Fang, I'm wondering if they're maybe even not playing any attack actions. Oh, they're not even going to block here. Okay, well that is good for us. So I suppose we'll actually just start by taking one of their Long Whisker loyalties, since it's like kind of a strictly better card than the Searing Gaze. Or is it? It kind of is. They're basically like the same stat value, if you think about it. So you might as well just take the one that's a little bit more flexible. But starting the game off with 1 gold against Fang is pretty good. So off to a pretty good start. Now we know they have the Long Whisker loyalty and a Searing Gaze here. So I think what we're supposed to do is make them play out the Long Whisker. We could also just try to like stuff the fealty here with a Trench. Like we do Trench, block 3 on this. Or maybe even like 4. And then we give them like 1 card on the back. Maybe it's worth it to just kind of like slow them down. I'm open to trying this. That being said, it's not like an optimal Trench usage. It just kind of like slows them down so that we can kind of potentially catch up a little bit here. Prevents them from making a ton of fealty, which I think we want to try to avoid. And given that it seems like they're playing more non-attack actions, you might not get the luxury of using it on like an Oath turn. So they did actually have to use the Searing Gaze on that chain link instead of on the second chain link, because we ended up doing that. So I think that's like kind of a reasonable trade. Oh, yeah, the third Long Whisker loyalty. Okay, fair enough. Sure, so this is like fine-ish. So they only get 1 mark here, which is really good for us. I'm kind of curious why they opted for damage instead of mark on that last turn, but they are the expert. I have no, or oh, I guess they had to, right? Because if they don't, then they don't get to like connect the first, like we fully block out the chain. So maybe that actually was like pretty good for us there. I still get to send in for 9 here with a tie on it, which is like pretty reasonable, and then just set up the battering for next turn. So kind of just doing a little bit of like Arsenal chaining here, where we just like send Redfin, set up another Arsenal for next turn, and then probably send a battering, set up another Arsenal for next turn, something like that. I feel like that's kind of like an important concept with Marlynn. It's just like always keeping a good arsenal when you're kind of like lower on gold. I always try to like think about in the early game, like just trying to like chain arsenals together, just so that we always have something to kind of send. Oh, it looks like they are on Oath of Loyalty, so maybe I kind of misread here. I guess them running like non-attack actions doesn't necessarily mean that they're not running Oath. So we could have saved it for maybe a little bit more damage, but I think denying the mark there was still somewhat valuable, I think. And this hand is looking like it could be a 17 battering bolt. So I suppose we will not be blocking here. Unfortunate that the trophy shot doesn't give any like non-harpoon on hit gold. But it's still pretty high value here. I think there's like some merit where we don't actually want to like gold the tip this turn. We maybe just want to like chain another arsenal together. So I'm gonna actually not play the gold to tip just yet. And now we have the choice between 14 and 17 on battering bolt, which is interesting. I think given that we don't have a code, we haven't drawn a codex, we haven't drawn a 3-oak. I think we're supposed to like not be greedy here and send the extra 3 and just make sure that we have the arsenal. Because like that's one of the ways we lose is if we just like pass next turn. So I want to try to keep the arsenal even if it's at the risk of sending like -3 damage. Which is a little unfortunate. Like I don't want to have to arsenal this, but we did at least get like crown out of the way, so maybe it's like a little bit higher value. If we can like prevent them from keeping their fealty around or like developing fealty, I feel like this is a really good play. Oh, 2 overcrowdeds, Brave Forge, and a Saber. What does this mean? Maybe it means they have like Deer React or something? Okay, sure. And then they can like play a Draconic card, maybe keep the fealty around, or maybe they're just even gonna give up on it. Interesting. I think that's still probably good for us. Like, there's very few cards they can have here that like keep the fealty around. Oh, I guess Draco Fire is one of them, sure. But this is only like 3 damage, so maybe this is fine. And then I don't love just sending Shallow Water for 13, but it probably will have to just get the job done here. I'm almost tempted to just hook it, just because like it's a fake on hit, and if they do end up blocking it, then we're like kind of further keeping the Fang off their game plan. So this is like a little bit of a greedy hook, but I don't think it's that greedy because if they want to block 13 on, or I guess 12 on a Shallow Water, I think I'm like kind of happy with that. This is the kind of like skill testing hook I think that often comes up, although Warmonger's block is concerning. I think unfortunately we still kind of have to Arsenal Codex despite it potentially being a time walk next turn, but we don't really have like a better option. And we're probably just incentivized to kind of block out this turn unless they... Oh, they're just sending for the Drakai. Okay, I don't really know what's going on anymore, but I suppose this is fine still. They can't give this go again, right? At least not in any way that I know of. And then we can maybe try to like port side into a buff or something. Could also just get an extra 1 value and like make a gold here. I don't think that's unreasonable. Yeah, that's also fine. Go ahead and turn over... Could turn over the Draco Fire, but I don't think it's going to matter that much this game. So let's go ahead and just turn over our Trophy Shot. And we're kind of seeing the effects of us like preventing the fealty that early, in the sense that like it's turn 4, our opponent only has like 1 fealty, and then they're like IP2ing here. So I think that's still like really good for us. And now we just get to follow up with the Codex, which is huge as well. So do we want the Battering Bolt or do we want the King Shark? I think I'm going to lean the Battering Bolt just because it's like the most annoying thing into them. It forces them to like fully cover, whereas like King Shark might hit something, but it also is more likely than not to just like go to card, whereas Battering Bolt can go up to like 3 cards. And when I say goad, I'm like talking about like forcing it to block. I think that's like a magic keyword, right? It's like you go to card is like for forcing your opponent to like block with the card as opposed to them getting like the choice to not block with it, I guess. But if we get to just eat their hand here and just kind of like keep the tempo, I'm pretty happy with this. Especially because it's going to be extra hard for them to just keep the fealty around. I still don't know why they're not just like holding on to a Warmonger, but maybe they just don't want to risk it or something. bizarre to me that they're not playing out like the best card into us, but I don't know. Maybe they don't know or whatever. Maybe they have another Warmongers or something. Also possible. But I think this is really good for us. I'm just going to go ahead and block with the Shallow Water just because we want to kind of value trade into them a little bit. And we get to follow up with another Battering Bolt next turn, so I think we're still in real good shape. Battering Bolt plus 3 mid is pretty sweet. We could have actually cracked for extra buffs here, but I think this still ends up being good enough. I think that's a scenario where I don't like risking. I like using gold when I have like a clear rationale for using gold. And I feel like that was kind of just gambling for buffs when we like didn't really need to because we're just like already sending 13, which is good enough. We still get to keep an arsenal here, which is also great. So we'll take a peek at the hand. All right, for the Drake Coyote with the loyalty. So they still get to like kind of have like a decent turn next turn. Just 0 for 4 and a 0 for 4. I mean, and as far as like 2-card Fang hands where they have like no fealty, that's probably like the best possible outcome, right? Alright, but I suppose we'll say no blocks because this is just like vanilla damage with no on hits. Which is, I guess, like what most of Fang is. Vanilla damage with no on hits, but like this is not even like furthering their fealty game plan, so it's like extra no on hits, right? Alright, but now this is a hand where I have like a clear purpose for trying to use gold. So what I want to use gold for on this hand is paying for the trophy shot and then also maybe potentially finding just a better harpoon here. Alright, port sight's not bad. So I think we're going to crack 2 gold just to kind of look for something a little bit better to send. Oh, King Shark is good. Then we'll crack 1 more gold here so we can maybe just end up salvaging as well. Okay. Codex is also, I think, pretty decent here as well. So we get to just send in a nice clean 17 here. I think I'm even going to just hook this because I don't think they can cover realistically. 4 cards to cover 17 and they don't have any armor. More likely than not, this is going to be hitting. The only question is whether or not we're going to be like actually taking cards from their hand, which I kind of doubt. But they do have like some number of attack actions, but they've kind of seen most of them at this point. All right, we got an Oath, which is good. So we put them to 1 here, and then we get to kind of take a peek at the rest of their hand. All right, Firm Loyalty, Smoldering Steel. They still can't really do much with that hand. So they're going to still have a lot of trouble trying to close out this game, especially given that we're sitting on Codex, which is one of our premier kind of arsenal targets. I think as long as we don't brick super hard this next hand, we should kind of still be in business here. So they have to affirm here in order to keep the fealty around so we can safely just block with the battering bolts. And then they're probably just going to arsenal the other affirm is my guess. Oh, we're doing just a really good job with value trading still. Okay, so we'll start with the Rabble. Potentially force a block here and then try to end it with the Codex. We might not end up killing this turn, but we should be at least kind of sending some annoying pressure. Pretty overwhelmingly good Fang game in our favor. I think like the quick dodge early just to deny fealty was like definitely the move because if they're ever able to like just turn on daggers for free, we probably end up leaking like 10 to 15 damage over the course of the game. So I really actually kind of stick by that initial decision to give them the quick dodge flexors that early. Seems like it ended up like paying a lot of dividends. Then we'll send a battering, but I don't think it matters here. If they're able to cover, most of the time I feel like they're able to cover battering bolt or king shark, and maybe battering is like a little bit more annoying. I guess we could have like threatened the overpower on the king shark, but like I want to make sure that I don't know. Maybe king shark is just better. Maybe I'm kind of talking myself into that being the case. It looks like actually no, it would have. Oh, sorry, king shark would have killed them. Okay, sorry, that was actually a misplay. King Shark would have definitely killed them because they had two actions in hand. So I suppose that was a punt, but it doesn't really end up mattering here, I think. We're kind of just prolonging the game another turn, which means we just get to play more Fab, which is always good. Oh, now we get to draw this hand, so I'm actually kind of happy that I misplayed there, so that we get to see this beautiful hand. So, I mean, like, definitely incorrect last turn to not send King Shark, but we get to send another 16, so okay, we'll send the King Shark this time. I think that will more than compensate for the last misplay. But yeah, this is kind of just like how you have to win against Fang, is you just have to like deny fealty early and then hope that you can kind of send enough damage later on. All right, coming in for 16. And this should hopefully close out the game unless they have like quadruple D-React, which I kind of doubt. All right, Huntsman, Scar Tissue, and Overcrowded. So it looks like they're definitely kind of like on like a greedier Fang deck, which you were able to punish because they were just kind of slow on the fealty gen. But yeah, pretty good showing into the Fang, and that was like a pretty impressive average value per turn, like 14 average value, especially in these like aggro matchups is pretty good. It kind of seems like once we got over the first couple turns, we kind of just like started sending pressure and just like never really kind of let up, which is really good. But yeah, I think if they resolved the Warmongers that game, it might have looked a little bit different, just because like Time Walk obviously very good. But maybe they had their reasons for just blocking out as opposed to playing it. Who knows? All right, let's see if we can get one last one. All right, it's playing against a Gravy. They're gonna choose to go first. So I like to think of this as an aggro matchup. It doesn't always work out that way fully, though. But we'll see what we got here. So let's go ahead and bring in the one Mutiny. And then I think I like just bringing in the Mutiny over the tip here. So my idea with this matchup is we try to go face as much as possible here and just try to ignore most allies except Chum. I think Sawbones is one of the ones you want to try to kill if you do get the luxury. All right, but looks like they're going to fat duck us here, which is good for us. Starting on 65 cards versus our lean 60. But we have a pretty good opener here, in the sense that we have Murderous Rabble into the Shallow Water. So let's go into Arsenal, the Shallow Water to start off with here. And Scuba is technically not a must kill, so we're going to try to ignore it. In the Fatigue plan, it's a must kill. But in our current game plan, not really. We can kind of just afford to let this one live for a bit. All right, King Shark on top. Well, at least will be good for blocking this turn. So let's go ahead and just send 9 at their face. Try to be a little bit aggressive here, although what some gravies are doing is boarding in a mix of D-Reacts and also the Fatigue package, which can also be a little bit challenging to beat. But for now, we should be pretty safe to just ignore the Scuba for the rest of the game. Definitely like a must kill on site for the Fatigue plan, but for the aggro plan, not really. What does this look like? This is maybe looking like D-React or something? Or maybe double sunken, something like that. That's like fine though. Oh, sunken plus a vast evil. Okay, this makes sense. Right, starting with a lone shark, sure. So ideally, you want to give them 2 cards here with the king shark and the trophy. But we'll see what they end up doing here. Double scuba is still not very concerning. So it should still be fine here. Oh well, that one is a little concerning. But the nice part is we can at least just block this for 7 and then Codex grab shallow. So this could actually end up being fine for us. The hope is that they don't have a way to block out the shallow, though, or that's going to be a little bit problematic for us. Because giving them back a conch is definitely concerning. So if it's the case that they get back a conch and we lose the game if they play the conch, do we maybe just like YOLO hook this and hope for the best? Their hand would need to block 10 collectively, which I guess is possible. I almost think we maybe just hook this and just YOLO it. Because if they don't have the D react here, we maybe just win the game on the spot. Because we kind of need this to hit in order for us to win the game. And if this isn't hitting, then we're not winning the game. So we might as well like extra not win the game by throwing the hook on it. I don't know. It like kind of makes sense. All right, no blood in the water, please. Okay. We got rewarded for a greedy hook, which is good. Given that they're like fat decking and they're also presenting Mage Master boots, I feel like they're kind of like aware of the fatigue plan. So that means that we're actually able to kind of like maybe guess that they're not on some number of D reacts. It's always hard to tell though. They maybe have a react here or something. Okay, maybe they just didn't want to block. Is also reasonable. Alright, double Sawbones in the bin is scary. But we at least get a nice little gold buffer here. And we also get the Conqueror out of the way. So still pretty good for us. And they're on like the full fatigue package. So this is kind of like showcasing, at least hopefully, kind of like what the pivot we're doing is. Right, loot the hold, sure. Playing out as Sawbones. So unfortunately in this scenario, we might just have to like let them hit with the loot the hold. That being said, if they do try to go for like a hook or something, we will try to punish that. So I think what we'll do is we'll give them 1 gold here and just give up the gold to tip. But the unfortunate part here is they do have another Sawbones in the bin, so if they're able to actually get out the second one, it's going to be a lot scarier. I'm going to put them on having no D-Reacts in their deck, which means that we should just like YOLO hook basically everything. That's my guess, given the way that they boarded. I'm just going to guess that they don't have any way to block this. Yeah, it seems like they're on like a full anti-fatigue package, which involving the sloops should give us like kind of clear runway to hopefully just kind of hook everything. So Loan Shark, Sawbones, a Vasti. Okay, a little bit annoying there. But we're doing a good job applying pressure, which is nice. And we do have the Codex lined up for next turn. The downside here is if they're able to get out like all 3 Sawbones, it's going to be very hard to win the game, even if they aren't able to like really block from hand. But this kind of at least showcases how you can win the grading matchup, right? Is if they think you're doing the fatigue plan and you just kind of go face, you can get a lot of points out of that. So let's go ahead and do want to block this in some capacity. Maybe just block like this, and if they play out the other Sawbones and they swing and hook it, do we block another 6? I think we might. Try to like blow up the hook. I think seems reasonable. Although wait, did they make a goal this turn? Oh, they did make a goal this turn, so they're always going to get a free hook. So maybe there's no real point to blocking this one, and we just block the second one since they already have the Loan Shark out. They are also notably going off an arsenal here if they're going to play out another ally. So maybe there's a world where we just get shallow this turn, block 6 or something like that. We're gonna try to punish them for having that conk in the yard. Oh, but they can't actually swing with it this turn. Oh, interesting. Okay, well, if that's the case, then we're just gonna maybe just try to play out these catch of the days. We have a murderous rabble, which I think is just going face at this point, unfortunately. They do have 2 sawbones out, but we can kind of just hopefully try to grab their arsenal again here. So grab the shallow water, keep them off the conch, and just send that gravy. Again, I'm still kind of putting them on not having D-Reacts, but I feel like at this point in the game we have enough gold buffer where we don't have to like YOLO hook as hard. They're on like multiple Humperdinks though, so like they definitely came prepared for a fatigue slog, and now we're kind of just presenting them with the aggro game plan. So this is kind of how you can catch gravies off guard. It's kind of like a little bit of cat and mouse between the two strategies, it feels like. All right, unfortunately cannot arsenal the sunken treasure here. Is there anything we even want to sunk in? Maybe like an Anka if they try to like attack in or something. Oh, Chum is also a good target. But unfortunately we cannot respond to it here. Yeah, so the Chum is definitely bad. I suppose what we can do here is actually like turn over the Anka, just so they can't like get it out. But we're going to be a little bit of danger here, given that the Chum is out with 2 sawbones. It's not looking good for us, I would say. We're going to need to draw something very good here to hopefully try to get around this Chum. Mutiny is a good start, actually. So can maybe crack 1 more gold and like mutiny one of their golds. We do need to send this for more than 8 if we want to play around like the Fearless. All right. Oh wait, actually, hold on. Sorry, we can't do that. Maybe we just send 8 here actually, and not bother with the mutiny. If they have the Fearless, I think they have the Fearless, and there's not much we can really do about that. Yeah, I think I like that. Let's maybe like Arsenal the Mutiny. Let's kill the Chum. So the first Chum is at the board, which is definitely painful. So we need to basically see if we can kind of get around the second. Hopefully they don't have a second Chum at this point. But we did flip over the Anka, so like they might not really have the means to play out more than the Rigger here. I guess they could try to go for a Whaler. But I think we can like kind of safely ignore the Whaler potentially. All right, coming in for 6 on the Sawbones. We can ignore that. So this is just damage at this point. That being said, if they do have a Conqueror, be a little scary. Oh, they're gonna just slam a Whaler. Okay. I like also fine with that though. Interesting. Did they make a gold this turn? Don't know that they did. But we can pretty safely just do this, I think. And then we can like make It's still like a bit awkward. We actually might want them to steal the gold here, actually. This might be a better play, so we turn on the mutiny. I kind of like this idea more, because otherwise, if they don't make a gold, then they always have the ability to like discard a gravy. So I think what we should do to be a little bit smart here is actually just let them steal the gold so that we can steal it right back. I think I like this line. So now we start with the mutiny. And then we'll just try to smack in face here again. And for what it's worth, I think we've actually had like a little bit of a lackluster draw in the sense that we haven't seen like our codexes or like our 3-oaks until like super late in the game. So let's go into Arsenal the King Shark here. And we're definitely hooking this turn. And the question is whether I want to Arsenal like the trophy shot or something else. All right, discarding the rigor. I think that's good for us. So this at least prevents conk, which is the most important thing here. And we are sending him for 12, which is good. So like maybe have a chance to actually like fully brick their hand here. And this is like kind of exactly what we want to be doing with like the pivoting back and forth between the fatigue planes. We want to like confuse the gravy so that they don't have like a consistent way to sideboard. That being said, if we get owned by a D-React here, that would be unfortunate. I guess it's not that big of a deal though, because they're still on like 1-card hand. All right, covering 7, keeping 1 Sawbones up. So we steal a gold and then take a peek at the hand. Call to the grave another Whaler. But the nice part is they can't chum next turn. They do not have another blue in hand necessary to chum there. So if we can just ignore whatever they do next turn, go face, and then kind of try to close out the game from there. Oh, they could actually, if they draw the blue up the top, then they can call to the grave. Okay, so we're not fully out of this quite yet. Still in a little bit of a scary spot if they are able to activate the chum here. Yeah, chum, I think, might lose us the game here. It's close, though. Oh, they drew a yellow. Okay, we're still in this. Okay, I think we're still fine. So now we can safely just ignore the board. All right, they want to hook, sure. The question here is, can we actually afford to break their hook? And they did get the chum. So the question is, like, what are we doing with this hand? Like, we could do this, go -1 gold, but then we were, like, losing the tunic, which we kind of need to kind of play our cards here. This might end up being, like, a goldfin turn or something weird. But I think we're not supposed to block because we need to, like, end the game next hand. I think it's pretty important that we just try to kill them. So we'll keep the most amount of resources while trying to kill them, I think, is the strat. And if we draw a 3-oak off the top, which, I mean, we're decently likely to hit, like, maybe we're still fine here. We are going to be sending a big arrow, that's for sure. I think what I'm actually going to do here is pitch. I want to maybe hold the option of keeping the gold to tip in case we do go for the goldfin here. Oh, it looks like, well, what were we drawing off the top here? Drawing like I? Okay, so like, I don't know if they're dead necessarily, but I guess they couldn't block overpower. So like, I guess that's how the great matchup goes, right? Like, they bore fatigue, they don't respect you with the D-Reacts, and then oh, it looks like they were on Summoner Rex. Okay, so that's a lie. They did actually technically respect the aggro plan with the Blood in the Waters, but they maybe weren't running Syncs as well. So like, we're basically just able to race them because they weren't on kind of like the more aggressive plan. They were kind of trying to fatigue us instead. So that's kind of like how the gravy matchup goes. You just like try to go face as much as possible. Chum is like the main ally you have to respect, although having 2 Sawbones out is also really bad for us. And then you just kind of gotta kill them from there. But I think what we end up doing there is probably just sending Goldfin for, we do 4 + 3 + 6. So that's 13, if I'm counting that right. 13. They can block 2 + 3 + 1. So they'd still be taking 3 over the top of 4. So I go to -3. All right, pretty good game for us. So that should close it out. All right, but anyways, that was our attempt at Marlynn for Mastery Pack Warrior. So hope you all enjoyed. Again, I'm still going to kind of theory craft this list as we kind of get closer to the full set reveal. So maybe there's some cards in the set that kind of like shift the deck list in a specific direction. But I think this is like kind of how I envision it if Warriors become a lot more popular. So yeah, anyways, thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all next time. And a special thank you to all the folks who decided it would be a good idea to give us $2 on Patreon. We really appreciate the support, but it's obviously never required.